So when putting large files into After Effects, you can't, basically. The file size is far too big. If I bring up this here, this is the file we're going to be using. This is Steph. And it's a really large file. The image size here, we're on over 30,000 pixels. These dimensions are fine for Premiere and other programs, but After Effects is a little bit more conservative. Over here, 30,000 exactly. Now, what we can do is we could reduce the file size, which is not really what we want to be doing, or split them into separate parts and then stitch them together in After Effects. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. I've flattened the image, obviously, and then if you just get the selection tool here, drag it across and try and find a midpoint somewhere in the picture. Let's go there, and we'll zoom in just to make sure. Yep, it's not coming off anything. It's just some white background, which is fine. So we'll go edit copy or Control C, file new, and all the dimensions are obviously already there. So press OK and paste it straight in. Okay, so what we're left with is half the picture, thereabouts. For this we're going to be using a TIFF file format, so we'll save this. We'll call it PP1. We're going to make two pictures. So PP1 as a copy, because you don't need the layers. Try and save some space. And I'm not going to put any compression on it. It might be a large file size, but once we're done with it, we can delete it, it's fine. So we'll do that. And now for the second half of the photo, or image, what we could do is drag another box around, but how are you going to know whether you've matched up this perfectly? It might look a little bit off, it might look rubbish. So what we can do is just invert selection. Boom. And I've got that half. Copy that. Do the exact same process, although all we're going to do is save and call it PP2. Don't save the layers, and no compression, leave it, it's good. Right, so I've got PP1 and PP2 on my desktop. So what we'll do is, going to import file, PP1, PP2, and make sure TIFF sequence is not selected here. If you do, otherwise it'll try and make a one video file and it'll just have 2 frames. 2 images, 2 frames. Every image is a frame, moving images, blah blah blah. Okay, so PP1, PP2. Now the dimensions here are we've got a vertical or a y-axis even of 971, which isn't enough for 1080p. So we could scale up to 1080p. However, that would involve stretching the image somewhat, or we could scale down to 720. 720 is more commonly used, and even for the web, it's slightly smaller file size. But it's up to you how you want to do it. Okay, I've already got my settings here. In After Effects, HDTV 720 25 frames. Because I'm from the UK, I use 25 frames. And then time, 3 minutes, let's say, which will be 30,000 typed into there. See, 3 minutes, and that should automatically go to 3 minutes. White background. Let's just make sure it is perfectly white. I'm using a second screen here, that's why things keep going missing. Okay, so white screen, lovely. So PP1, here she is, Steph. Okay, I've got my resolution set on quarter here because I'm using a fairly slow machine, so ignore that. Only problem with this is, as you can see, if I drag it around a bit, is that her head gets a little bit cut off. So we could just drag it down so her face is more in the middle. That looks good. Maybe up a little bit more. Okay, so Steph is there. And now what we need to do is, what we could do, for instance, is move it across, but that takes huge amount scrolling and you don't really know where you're going. So what I like to do is use the position. Now we know the dimensions of this image, which is 17505, but I'm not going to type that every time. That's ridiculous. So what we will do is, if you go to Align Layers, Composition here, if you need to find the Align panel, it's there. So Align, and boom, there she is, right at the start. Okay, that is great. So what now if we want to, so we can position in there, keyframe. So that's great, but what about the other end at 3 minutes? Well, do we do that and then there? But that, we're only working with half the image, and it's not exactly half the image either. There is 29 faces, and you can't divide 29 by an even number, so we're not going to get the proper halfway point. So what do we do? Well, what we can do is work out the resolution of the entire thing, which, if you recall, if we come back here, image size is 31725. Okay, so in theory that would make this end of the image, the position, well, it's minus 7427, so 7472.5. Sorry. Now where did that number come from? We have no idea. So what we're going to do is we'll delete that keyframe, go right back to the beginning, and if we change this anchor point here, the X value, to 0. Okay, she's gone. She hasn't completely gone. And what we can do is, if we change the position value as well to 0, 0. So now we're starting at 0. So obviously the next number we want is that 3000 number. What is it? 31725. And we can just copy this directly from Photoshop, which I've just done. And this will give us a better idea of where we're at in terms of image movement. Right, that image is gone, obviously, and it's gone miles. It's all the way over there. Now that's great. However, of course, increasing the number shifts the image from left to right. But we want to make it look like the camera is going left to right, not the image going right to left. So what can we do? Now we could create a new camera, but that involves new layers and it just extra headache. So quite simply, all we need to do, minus, and paste in that 30,000 number, and now that appears as 31 minus 31725. And as you can see, the image has shifted over to the left instead this time. See? So now if we zoom in, Steph scrolls through, and around halfway it's ready for the second image, which we can put in now. Now with the second image, we don't need to be as fussy with the anchor point and things like that. All we need to do is basically just bring it in. I'm just going to lock that layer so I don't move them around too much. There we go. Now what we can do is to match up the Y position, which is 428.4. Not far off there. 428.4. So now they're on exactly the same Y level. Now if you remember, I'm not going to drag through all of this, so what I can do is, if I align the layer to there, that now brings the image there. And then all we are required to do is place that in roughly the same area, so it matches up quite nicely. And one of my favourite tools in After Effects, the Pick Whip. Drag this little bad boy, attach it to the first image, and now it's attached to it. So all connected, you can see the line here. And as that scrolls off, drags the other one along with it, and you end up with the finished thing. See, what you can also do now is, because Steph's obviously starting here, what we could do is just shift her over a bit. We know the dimensions of the project are 720p, so it'll be 1280 by 720 pixels. So we can use 1280 on the X, and she'll go a little bit off to the right. That means she'll come in from the right and go off in the left. And there you go, that's how you scroll through a large image.